Okay, so I had a little bit of trouble getting it out, but I did. And before I took it out, I tried to do the jumper thing, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Of course, it won't work without power, but I'll show you the procedure anyway. So I disconnected the cord from it, and now I have it sitting on the table. And if you were in the front of the fridge, that's what it would look like. Now, gets a little lesson on how this works. As you can see, there's ice down in here. So that tells me that water is getting into there from the little spout that comes into this. It hangs down. It drops water into this little reservoir with the ice forms, and it freezes. And then these little fingers that you see in here will start to turn. And when they do, it goes underneath here, flips out the ice, it comes over the top and out into the container. One of the ways, or the way, of course, ice will stick to this metal. So on the back, well, I don't have it off. Let me take the cover off. Okay, now we begin to see the problem. Look at all that ice that's underneath here. Couldn't even hardly get the screws off. So this little thing right here is a little heater. And when the ice gets ready, when it gets frozen, like I said, it will be stuck. And so this heater will just heat it enough to where when that finger comes around, it will be loose enough, it won't be frozen to this, and then it flips the ice trays on out. But, as you can see, let me bust that up a little. Okay, had to do a little water and ice cleanup there. So, as I said, as you can see, this is a little heating element, almost like what you have in your dishwasher. And as that ice freezes or gets ready to come out, this will heat up just enough, as it has done, for these little fingers right here, watch my phone. These little fingers will come around, scoop up the ice, and flip it out like it's sitting now. Let me put this in the sink before it makes another mess. So I'm going to turn this around now that we've got the ice. Maybe we won't have any water drippage. This, like I said here, there's a tube that comes from the water line. It sits up about like that. And when it needs the ice, it dumps the water into here, and it comes out this little area right there, drops down into the ice tray hickey thing. It freezes. The heater comes on just enough that these little fingers or tabs that you see down in here can come around. They come under here and up and push that ice out. Okay, I know I'm saying that several times, but I want you to understand how it works. Basically, that's it. Now, that is controlled over here. And everything pretty much is in this little wheelie here. And I'll show you some things to check. Before I buy an ice maker, I'm going to make sure of this. There's a hole right there that's marked with a V. And there's one here that's marked with an L. I don't know if you can see that. This one has a T, and that one has an H. Okay, hold on a minute. Now what I did is I made this little jumper wire. And what it'll do is bypass whatever circuit is in there. And if it is okay, it'll start working. Now, here's how this goes. The T and the H, if you jump the circuit with this wire, should make this do a manual ice movement, I guess. Should turn the wheel anyway. And so what I did is I put one wire in here and the other wire in here, like so. And of course it was still in the freezer and still energized with electricity. That's why I had the wire insulated. And nothing happened. So on this one, this tests your valve V and your line, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, it tests whether the water is coming in. Okay? So I put a wire in there and a wire in here. And again, this was energized with electricity and nothing happened. So it pretty well tells me, especially since there was ice caked under this, that the heater is obviously not working. And the YouTube guy says the thing that mainly goes wrong with these is that the heater, the heater connection, electrical connection, will just, with all the water and condensation, eventually it'll just short out, whatever, rust. And that you could replace this part here, but I'm going to show you something else. You see how corroded this stuff is in here? Let me see if I can scrape it and show you. Okay. Anyway, maybe I can get this one here. Yeah, there you can see. Okay, see that? That is a buildup that you probably don't want coming through your ice. And so this Teflon or whatever coating is in here, eventually we'll get this buildup of the water and it'll just be gross. So, that being said, that's something that would be good to replace. So if I just replace this electronic part, I've still got this part here that's kind of gross. Now, here's a cool thing though. The guy said that these usually last about 5 years before they go out. And I have had this freezer refrigerator since 2007. So it's about 16 years old. So I feel like I've more than amply got my money's worth out of it. But just to be sure, before I buy another one, I'm going to take this off and look at where that heater core wire right down in here comes together and see if it is actually broken or fused out, burned out, whatever. And then I'll know that I need to order another one. Now, if you'll notice, this heating element, which This is the heating element on the bottom. So this is where it comes out and connects to the electrical part. It has 3 connections. These right here go to each side of that U-shaped heating element. And they plug in to this. I'm gonna get it in focus. This little prong and this prong and this prong. I don't know if you can see that. There's one there, and one right here. Now, the first thing we're going to look at, look how corroded underneath there that is. And that's where the ice was that I had to break off. This one's not too bad. Now, most of the time where this orange wire is right here is where it'll be burned. This little prong here will be kind of melted or burned or look bad. Well, it does, you can't hardly see it, but it does have a little bit of a discoloration. See if I can focus in on there. Right there where the connection is. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little bit of a discoloration. Maybe that way you can see it a little better. And that is the same prong as where this crud is right there. Okay, so that pretty well tells me that most likely the heater is out on this thing. I could buy just this part, or I could try to maybe fix it. But if I bought this part, then I've still got to deal with this cruddy deal here. So I got 17 years out of this thing. I say put a new one in. But just to be sure, I'm going to put this back together now that I've got the ice all out of it. And I'm going to jump it again with those little cable I got and see if it'll work. Okay, so I plugged it in and absolutely nothing. And then when I took it out, I noticed this. Here's where this coil, look at that side, goes into the power source. And look how corroded that is. There is the culprit. So, seeing how that is the case, and seeing how this is 17 years old, and seeing how all this is crudded up, and seeing how when I did all of my tests, they failed, and seeing how I can get one of these new off of Amazon for about $75, and seeing as how I now know how to install it, I am going to go on Amazon with full confidence that when I put the money down and buy a new one, it will work and solve my problem. And if it does, I'm definitely going to be happy that probably I saved myself at least $150 to $200, maybe more, dollars for a technician to come out and do this. 75 as opposed to, say, 275 or maybe more. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and order this And when I get it and put it back in, I'll continue the video.